My name's Lillian. I received therapy at Center for Neuro Skills Austin location, and I had a stroke earlier this year. It was a medullary stroke caused by a vertebral artery dissection.
You know, it's one of those phone calls you see on TV or you read about in books and you think it'll never happen to you, but her husband James, he's awesome, and he's very stoic about things. He doesn't show a whole lot of emotion, and he called at 11 on a work day, and I was still working at the time. And he said, "I don't want to get you guys upset or anything, but we think Lily's had a stroke." And then he just started to sob. And you don't think that this could ever happen to a healthy young woman who's in the prime of her life. You know, the happiest days of her life. They just bought a new home. They were the happiest in their marriage that I'd ever seen them.
There were a lot of signs that now I recognize. I don't think at the time I would have ever known it was a stroke, but I did have, you know, moderate neck pain leading up to it. And it came to a head when I unfortunately was in the terrible habit of popping my neck. You know, just working at a desk for so long and, you know, always sort of being in that like hunched position. I self-manipulate my neck a lot, or I used to, and I did it in my sleep because I was having so much neck pain. And I remember jolting awake when that happened because it felt so wrong. The way I had done it felt so wrong. Didn't think much of it, but my neck pain like doubled after that one pop that I did in my sleep. And a couple weeks went by and the neck pain really didn't subside at all, and I was aggressively massaging it. Come to find out, it was because that was the artery tear, I think. The doctors are pretty sure that that one pop in my sleep is what tore my vertebral artery. My two biggest goals when I started at CNS was to treat my vestibular, like my eye issues, and also to learn just how to walk and balance better. I was still very shakily using a trekking pole as my main device, and I was still very much a fall risk when I started at CNS. It's funny, but there are little colored dots all through the hallway here at CNS, and they're up high, they're down low near the floor, and they're all around the hallways. And they would have me walk through the hallways and look at, you know, scan around and look and count the dots. And I think that was a great exercise because that's exactly what you do when you go into a store or when you go into a new environment. You're scanning and you're looking around, and I think that just really helped retrain my eye muscles and get it into a good spot to where now it's very minimal. I mean, when I started, before my time at CNS, I went to try to get a prescription, you know, just see if my prescriptions changed, and they were like, "Your eyes are moving so much, we can't even do the optical test." But since then, I've been able to return, and you know, my eyes have really stopped with the like nystagmus shaking, which is great. When it came to PT, I mentioned to my main therapist that I wanted to, you know, get back out on the trails. I live next to a nature preserve, and I have a Doberman Lab mix who's about 80 pounds, so he is difficult to walk. But I wanted to really get back to being able to walk him and control him, and to just have that endurance to go out on the trails. So a couple, you know, like real life simulation exercises that they had me do was they put a bunch of, you know, foam things underneath like a giant mat to simulate rocks and, you know, gravel on the trail and just the unexpected nature of being outside. And they just had me walk back and forth over that with assistance until like I could, you know, sort of balance on my own. And that was super helpful and definitely helped, you know, rebuild that ankle strength that I was lacking. And then another thing, I was using the zero gravity treadmill quite a bit with the harness, just because I was still, you know, learning to balance when I walked on my own. And one thing that they had me start doing was they would put the zero gravity treadmill at an incline, and then they would attach one resistance band. They would attach one resistance band to the side of the zero gravity treadmill, and I would have to kind of pull on it as I walked to simulate my dog sort of walking him. So that was really helpful as well. My mom, she's sort of my personal trainer. She's keeping me humble, but trying to ramp me up to 10,000 steps a day. And that was one of our biggest goals while at CNS, was how can we just get a bit more steps each day? How can we keep incrementally improving? and getting closer to being able to run again. So one idea she had was to sign up for a 5K, and I was extremely nervous. I mean, we were just gonna walk it slowly, and I was gonna bring my trekking pole, but I had a lot of anxiety around that. But I brought it to my physical therapist, and I told them, you know, here's the date of the 5K, we're trying to walk it, and they gave me a plan. They had me do some endurance exercises on the treadmill and on the elliptical, and they got me to a place where I felt like, okay, I can do this. And we did it. We completed the 5K. We weren't last. And I used my trekking pole, and it really helped boost confidence that I would be able to one day return to running, definitely. My life looks like a lot like it did before. I definitely see a version of myself from prior to the stroke, but I think it's enlightened in a lot of ways. So I have returned to work. I'm working limited hours, and I'm trying to be extremely mindful of taking eye breaks and, you know, not sitting hunched over to the point where I want to pop my neck. So I think I'm very much more mindful of how I work and working habits, and just trying to take breaks and take things extremely slow. I think before I just tried to speed through life and speed through everything and just get it done, whereas now it's like I'm trying to take time to enjoy each day. But yeah, I'm returning to work, I'm going to more concerts, and I have started to hike again with my mom, and we're hoping to do the stroke walk here in Austin in November, and just hopefully get to a place where maybe next year I can start running, you know, and I would love to be able to run a 5K.